we understand, according to footage that we are witnessing, that Iran has fired some type of projectile toward Israel. We have been warning about this morning. The U.S. government had said its intelligence indicated that this would happen. You're looking at some footage that we're getting into our newsroom from the region, and as soon as we have more information or specific confirmation, we'll bring that to you. Closely on your screen, you can see roughly a dozen different projectiles. We know that the warning was of ballistic missiles fired from Iran, a powerful country in the Middle East, toward Israel. Let's listen in to just how some of this sounds. It is approximately 7:43 in the evening in Tel Aviv, Israel, and what we have been watching live are what are believed to be, according to the IDF, Iranian ballistic missiles being fired from Iran toward the Israeli state, toward Israel. We are getting note from the IDF, that's the Israel Defense Forces, that sirens are now blaring across the country. And we understand what we've just witnessed is its Iron Dome defense capability in action, identifying those, what we understand to be Iranian ballistic missiles coming to what you see is a densely populated area of the country and trying to intercept those missiles before they can damage and injure innocent people there on the ground. We have some information from the White House. President Biden has convened a meeting with the Vice President and National Security Team to discuss what was an imminent plan from Iran to launch this attack. They've reviewed the status of U.S. preparations to help Israel defend itself, as well as U.S. personnel in the region. The IDF, that's the Israel Defense Forces, is also sharing that a short time ago, missiles were launched from Iran toward the state of Israel. They are instructing people there to remain alert and follow what they describe as the Home Front Command's instructions, life-saving instructions, they call them. Upon hearing a siren, people are advised to enter a protected space and remain there until further notice. This is all happening in the background of Israel's effort to move forces into southern Lebanon after they took out the leader of Hezbollah, Nasser Nasrallah, recently. And what they describe, though, as a limited ground incursion. And we did get word this morning that this attack was imminent. And we also remember that there were attacks toward Hezbollah members where pagers and walkie-talkies that they were wearing exploded and were detonated. That also injured civilians and children. All of this heightening tensions in the Middle East at such a sensitive time as we approach the one-year anniversary of the October 7th attacks by Hamas toward Israeli civilians. So this is the breaking news event that you and I are watching in real time, live, this footage coming to us from Tel Aviv. We're going to continue to get more information. I think we have our, just getting some new information into my ear, and I only want to bring you what we can confirm and what's accurate. So once again, you're looking at live images coming to us from Tel Aviv tonight after U.S. intelligence warned that there would be an imminent attack from Iran toward the Israeli state. We just watched as we saw what appeared to be the Iron Dome defense system intercept incoming missiles. Let's try and listen in and see what else we can learn. So we no longer hear the interceptions of missiles. We don't hear explosions. We do not hear the sirens anymore, but we will continue to listen in to what's happening in Tel Aviv. It's now 7:47 in the evening. We want to bring in CBS News White House reporter Willie James Inman for more on this. We know that the president had already met with the vice president and the security team regarding what are escalating tensions in this part of the world. What can you tell us?
Yeah, that's right, Errol. The president, the vice president convening with their national security team here at the White House this morning. And this follows that warning from the United States from a senior White House official saying that there were indications that Iran was preparing an imminent missile attack on Israel. But one important line I want to point out to our viewers at home in that statement from a senior White House official, they say a direct military attack from Iran against Israel will carry severe consequences for Iran. It's unclear how the United States will respond as of yet, but we do know there are several assets within the region that could potentially respond to this barrage of rockets that we have seen on our screens headed towards Israel. Now, it's also important to point out that behind the scenes diplomacy has been going on to de-escalate these tensions in the region, with Israel fighting against Hezbollah. Also, you have the situation in Gaza as well, with Israel fighting Hamas. So far, those efforts really haven't come to fruition. We haven't seen that 21-day ceasefire deal that the president and other world leaders wanted the Israelis to essentially come to terms with Hezbollah. That hasn't happened yet. And you saw this escalation tonight with Iran sending those missiles to Israel. According to the IDF, we haven't received a response from the White House. We have reached out to them to see if they have a response to this latest rocket attack, and we'll let you know once we hear it, Errol.
And what's interesting, Willie, is that about 14 hours ago, Secretary of Defense Austin did release a statement in which he spoke about having a conversation with Israel's defense minister, making it clear, I'm reading from this statement, that the U.S. supports Israel's right to defend itself. And though he added that there's a necessity of dismantling attack infrastructure along Israel's border with Lebanon. He goes on to say that civilians must be allowed to return safely on both sides of the Israeli-Lebanese border. Now that we've witnessed, again, it's just happened, so I'm saying it's what appears to be these Iranian ballistic missiles coming into Tel Aviv, and it appears to be the Iron Dome intercepting them. We can hear sirens now from emergency services on the ground. Now that this has happened, what must the U.S. do or say to bring peace to the region? And we're seeing more what appear to be artillery moving now.
Well, one of the things that you can almost anticipate will happen is that Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Biden could potentially speak. We did hear the president talk earlier this weekend, or I should say a couple of days ago, and said that he will be talking to Prime Minister Netanyahu. No word yet on whether or not that call happened, but I anticipate behind the scenes here at the White House and at the State Department, at the Pentagon, the officials are scrambling to try to not only respond to this incident, but also come up with some type of plan, some type of response. As the official mentioned, that the United States will respond to this. Remember last time around when Iran sent these missiles and drones to Israel, not only was it the Israeli military that responded with its Iron Dome defense system, the United States and partners in the region responded as well, shooting down some of those oncoming missiles and drones as well. So with those assets in the region, that's perhaps one thing that the United States can do. There, of course, can be more sanctions. That's been a response from the United States oftentimes when we see these types of escalations happen. But diplomacy is one of those things that the Biden administration, the president, the vice president, and others talk about in terms of getting both sides to lay down their arms so those people, as you mentioned, can return to their homes.
I just want to reset for our viewers. I'm Errol Barnett at the CBS Broadcast Center in New York. Willie James Inman is at the White House as we bring you the latest information from Tel Aviv, where we're watching in real time what appear to be ballistic missiles being fired from Iran into the Israeli state. That is according to the IDF. And the fireworks you're witnessing appear to be Israel's defense, the Iron Dome system trying to intercept some of that incoming artillery from Iran. This as a response to Israel's efforts to protect its northern border from Hezbollah militants and incoming rockets there. Israel saying it is launching a limited ground operation in Lebanon in order to protect its citizens in northern Israel. I want to also now share this new information. The Secretary of State, Willie, we were just talking about a potential diplomatic resolution to this. Secretary of State Antony Blinken moments ago was set to deliver remarks at the International Counter-Ransomware Initiative Summit. This is in Arlington, Virginia. Our teams are reporting that he has canceled this public appearance amid this attack. The State Department saying a briefing now delayed as U.S. intelligence and military teams recalculate what to do next.